Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another live video. I'm here, of course, alongside the connected one, the 9321, Mr. Ahsan Naeem, my good friend. Good morning, mate. How are you doing today? You well?
I'm very good, not as well as you. Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost me and Nicola literally just found out that the first bid that we put on the first house that we loved has been accepted. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean we got the house yet, but I'm just bouncing around and we're just screaming "fucking hell" at each other. And absolutely, like, who knows? It might not happen yet, but we're very excited. And we might actually bloody this might go. This background might go that everyone's become so accustomed to, man. Like, it might go, but we'll see. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Fingers crossed. How are you anyway? Are you well in general? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm better today. It's taken me. I've had a weird few days. I have to be honest. I've spoken to a few friends about it, and I wonder whether it's been a really long season, and I wonder whether it's just a little bit of football fatigue. Maybe I
Burnout
feel as
massively.
though, yeah, I feel as though emotion generally across the board, emotions are quite frayed, which is weird. Like if you consider the fact that we're about to win the Premier League title, we're in the Champions League final, it would it would seem contrary to that everybody's like nerves are frayed and that supporters are arguing with each other. But we are doing
Yeah.
exactly that.
And I think you're right. I think that we're doing this because we are nervous and not because we're not brilliant and not because we're disappointed with the team. I think we're doing it because we're terrified. And I think we're doing it because this is uncharted territory for us. You know, like as City fans, this is we've never been here before. You know, we've never been at this
Mm,
stage before. And how is that not going to elicit feelings of emotion, anxiety, apprehension? Where if you step back and looked at it from a totally neutral viewpoint, which is that even possible in football? But if you somehow manage to do that, you'd be like, maybe you ask one of your partners who's not into football, they'd go, wait. So you're several points clear in the league, and you need 2 points with one of the teams that's won this many games in a row, and you're in the Champions League final. You've already won one trophy. What? And you're all in a mood. And you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of a good point, really. But it's like, but we can't take our emotion out of it because that's what
no.
football does to it. And the crazy thing is, I mean, this is how good things actually are. Like, and Lagan, I've got to bring in the super chat because, like, Monesty collect you to win it tonight. We could win the Premier League tonight. We could win the
I
Premier
like
League
that.
tonight, and an
I like
ex-Manchester City
that.
player could win it.
I
And
like
mate,
that a
and
lot.
James, you're absolutely spot on, man. Like, imagine this is where we are right now, and I guess maybe it's my personal circumstances right now with the whole I'm just giddy on life right now, but I've settled down. I'm like maybe like we got a bit too emotional the weekend, and I definitely did personally, man. And like but it's just and how were you after the weekend, by the way? Because I know you touched on it. Were you like, and obviously it took a while to get over, but I don't know why it took a while to get over for you, if that makes sense. Like what was the frustrations for you at the weekend?
The reaction, the game didn't bother me.
Okay.
I was in a. I realize now that I guess I was in a minority whereby I think I did a video with you last week where I said I want to see all the stiffs on Saturday. I remember saying it like I want to see Mendy, I want to see
Yep.
Cancelo, I want to see everybody, anybody who played in Paris. I don't want them anywhere near the first team against Chelsea. So in a way, I was prepared for that team, and also if you champion picking a side like that, then you're more or less saying that I don't mind if we lose, right? So it's obvious that if I was championing that team, I probably didn't mind if we lost the game. I guess that I'm so excited about the Champions League final, and I was so like, you know, Saturday just felt like a free hit, and it to me it was so nothing in a way that I still cannot marry the reaction. I just can't. I appreciate everybody's entitled to their own opinions, and I'm not going to say anything else. I don't want to, I've upset a few people by being pretty direct in the way that I've said some things, but in the end, I'm asked about Saturday. We're in the Champions League final, and if people feel that Pep was wrong or somebody else was wrong, that's cool. You can hold that opinion.
What I will say is like I disagree on some little bits, but there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone needs to remember disagreements are
Mm,
entirely what makes this world go round. It's genuinely that
definitely.
disagreements are usually about progression, and that's how people get forward anyway because you find solutions. But what I will say is like I guess they ultimately won't matter. I'm aware of that. Why is it you wanted to see everyone kind of not playing? Was it simply fitness reasons? Was it just because you wanted the players to sit out after that?
I've said consistently, I don't want Pep to give Tuchel a look at what we do at our best against them until game day. So we've seen their best players under Tuchel against Manchester City, right? So Pep has seen the way that Tuchel uses Mount, the way that he uses Pulisic, the way that he uses Ziyech, the way that he uses Werner. In games, he's seen how Tuchel uses those players. Tuchel, on the other side, has not got any idea what Pep is going to do with his lads against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Because he's picked two completely scratched teams. And I just... Again, maybe it's me, yeah. It just seems dead obvious. Like, it was something that I said when I said it after the Paris game. I said it because deep down inside, I was like, Pep's definitely doing that because that's just eminently logical. Like,
camera just went flat. No, sorry, my camera just went flat there. I'll switch over to another one. My head's in bits. I didn't even charge my camera. Well done, Stephen. No, you're right. I mean, like, what I will say is that, I mean, some people would argue, and on the flip side, well, look, is there anything that Guardiola, and I'm going to arguing against myself in a second, is there anything that Tuchel wouldn't already know about this Manchester City side and how they play, which is probably true, but at the same time, what I would say to counter that, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, well, you never really know how it's going to work until you're actually there on the pitch as well, do you? So you do need to, you can do all the pre-analysis, and they'll do incredible pre-analysis because Tuchel is a great manager and Chelsea are a fantastic side with I'm sure they've got brilliant facilities and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you don't really know the full hand until it's on the pitch, do you? And so you don't know how Gundogan's going to react to Kante. You don't really know how Pulisic is going to react to Kyle Walker or whatever. You don't know how Mount's going to react to these players until they're there. So I guess there's an element of like, well, yeah, even though it's the Premier League is an open book, so to speak, we still haven't shown our Put it this way. If Pulisic had if we played Kyle Walker or someone like that, or I don't know, someone, and Pulisic or someone or Mason Mount had a bad game against Kyle Walker, he would then have a chance to go, well, next time you do this instead. And he hasn't had the chance to do that, which I guess is kind of important. So they haven't had a chance to preemptively solve any potential problems, which would also at the same time give Guardiola a chance to even go, oh, fuck, is that a problem that I need to think about? So in a way, it slightly simplifies it, doesn't it? Because you don't have to go there with any... And there's no, like, preconceptions. So I understand that, So there is an argument to say, well, I guess we've got no temptation to do anything crazy other than just play, here's our strongest side, fucking deal with it. You haven't dealt with it before. And what it's worth saying, by the way, they only just got past us each time with a vastly changed side. Only just.
I said that
must play something as well.
Yeah, I said that yesterday or the day before on Twitter. I said that the thing that I'm really surprised about is that everybody's going, oh, Chelsea, this is going to be a big confidence boost for them. And I kind of look at it in the exact opposite. I go, hang on, they've picked two really strong teams that have played more or less against our second string, and they've struggled to beat us both times. And the second time round, they didn't deserve what they got. City should have scored the second penalty and should have had should have scored the penalty for the second goal and should have had a third penalty. So it's not something that I view. There was nothing negative for me about the two Chelsea results in terms of looking at the Champions League final. And therefore, my only conclusion at the weekend was that people just want to moan for the sake of it. And when they moan for the sake of it, if you challenge them, they become, irate. And it's like, hang on, you're moaning for the sake of it.
And I'm not a moaner for the sake of the person. Like,
I know.
I agree, but like, what I will say is, like, I think some people would turn around, and this is a slightly fair point. How much it matters or not is a different question entirely. Is that Chelsea now? I mean, there's going to be a bit of a rest anyway, but Chelsea could get the Champions League wrapped up a little bit earlier. I'm not sure how much that plays into it, but they could get qualification wrapped up a bit earlier now. But at the same time, they're probably going to do that anyway. And I guess also now the Champions League final isn't all on them getting into the Champions League. So there's an element of... There's two ways of looking at it. But either way, you're right. I mean, for what it's worth, I don't mind people... moaning a bit every now and then. We vent because we're human, but it doesn't mean like everyone has a moan and everyone's got their own opinions and all that kind of stuff. But what I will say is I agree with Little Yazzie who said the league is in the bag, and I agree it will take care of itself. Pep needs to work on the final tactics wise. City are the best will destroy Chelsea. That's a big shout there, man. Big shout there. Every time I come to more, I was like, you got a beautiful family, mate. Every time I see that, like, it's just you got a beautiful family. You should be very proud, presuming it's your actual family. But you're right, man. You're right. I suspect, for what it's worth, Ahsan, I'm not sure if you agree with this. Presuming if United don't somehow, we'll get onto that in a minute. United don't give us the title this week. Presuming it gets to that moment, I reckon on Friday we're going strong, like strong to do it. Do you agree with that? I think we will. I think we'll see more or less a full strength side against Newcastle if that push comes to shove.
Definitely, I think we'll see a full strength side anyway, because I don't think that I don't think the selection last weekend was about, okay, the league is wrapped up now, so I can just play these squad players in all the league games. Not at all. I think Saturday was Chelsea specific. I think it was the double of all of those guys have just played 3 games in 10 days, the strongest team. Yeah. So they need a rest. Plus, I don't want Chelsea to have a look at what we're like at our best. So it's easy to rotate for that game. But Friday, all the big guns will be back, in my opinion.
And can anyone see us? Say United win a few games in a row, so they're like, fair play to United, they've done really well there, and then we need to win a big game. Can you really not imagine our players like fucking hell, we're going for this now? They would be so up for it. They would be like, you'd see Bernardo, De Bruyne, Foden, Mahrez, Fernandinho, Walker, Zinchenko, Diaz, Stones. We know the team already, man. It'll be that team, and they'll be all over Newcastle from the first minute to the last. And where Newcastle, let's have a look at the Premier League table right now. I can't even remember where they are.
I think they're safe now.
They are safe, yeah. That's what's getting at. They're 15th. Yeah, they're safe, man. They're like the Fulham are down, aren't they? West Brom, Sheffield United down. Yeah, they're safe. Everyone's down. I just realised everyone's down. So so we got basically a game where we could win the league with our strongest side against the Newcastle side coasting on holiday. It's give us the title now. What's the point? Like, genuinely, what is the point? I know that sounds a little bit like presumptuous, but it's like if I was a betting man, it's so obviously, it's like you could play that game 100 times and we'd win 98 out of them. I really feel that confident, so either way, do you want to win it then, by the way, or do you want to win it tonight?
I think that I don't know. I don't really care. I know that's a cop-out, but actually, in a way, it'll be hilarious if United do something daft, because that's just United being United. And it'll be great if City get to win it on the pitch. So,
Kelechi.
Yes, there is also the Kelechi factor tonight. Bagman Kelechi is going to do some bad things tonight. Oh, I like it. No, maybe I want Leicester to win tonight. So, yeah, I'd like to do it tonight.
Also, it's kind of funny actually. So either Kelechi not beats them, or Liverpool beat them. And then we win the league. So either way, it's there's many ways that work for us, I would say. So Kelechi either beats them, Liverpool win them, so it's funny because then Liverpool give us the title and also stop United with the title, or we just win it on the pitch and it's brutal and brilliant. So either way, I'm pretty happy with any of those outcomes, and we are going to win the league by Friday. I'm almost certain. I'm absolutely certain. If United manage to win those 2 games, by the way, fair fucks to them. That will be impressive. It will be genuinely impressive, given they'll have to rotate a lot of players, and I suspect United tonight will play a heavily rotated team as well, which not Chelsea, Leicester should be really up for. But this is where we're at now, man, isn't it? This is where we're at. We're just talking about this, the inevitability of it all. How's your head up for the Champions League? Because we've not really talked about it for a week or two after that we got through to the final. How are you feeling about the actual final now?
Really good. Really, really good. I think this collection of players and this coach deserve to be in a Champions League final. And I think that as much as I would have preferred to have played Real Madrid, now that it is what it is, it's cool, And I think that I agree with the lad in the super chat earlier. I think that, without being arrogant about it, if City play at their best, I think they'll beat Chelsea, because I think City at their best are the best team in England.
That's not arrogant. It's just fair.
Yeah.
I reckon. I think that's fair.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it. I think that today was the first day. Well, I've got a weird few days. I have to be honest. I didn't enjoy the 48 hours after Chelsea. But today's the first day where I feel like I booked a hotel in Porto this morning. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you bastard!
I'm in that zone now where I'm like putting holds on flights, booked a hotel, like asked literally everybody who's anybody who I might know to hook me up with a ticket. So let's see. Like today, my fingers are crossed that they announced the change to Porto, because if it's England and Wembley, it's going to be really complicated for me, because then I'll have to quarantine for 5 days. Coming from Spain, it'll just be a nightmare. The rush on tickets will be insane because it's in the UK, so it'll make everything uber complicated. Whereas Porto, for me, I love Porto. It's a great city. It's a great weekend away. It'll feel like a Champions League final because it won't be in England. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be.
I've only been to Lisbon, but Lisbon was beautiful. So like, if Porto's anything like Lisbon, I can imagine it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if I'll get there. If I'm being honest, I don't know if I'll be able to get a ticket, but I don't give a fuck in a way. I do give a fuck, but I don't at the same time. See, if I get, after the year we've had, I said on Twitter, and you've probably seen that clip of me sobbing my eyes out like a little baby. Like, if I get to sit at home and watch a final with my dad, given everything we've been through, if I get to sit on that sofa right now behind me there, with my dad, just watched Man City in the Champions League final after this year, after spent a year, and I'm not trying to exaggerate here, year worrying about my dad potentially dying. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds so over the top, but that's where most people's heads are at. They're like, shit, our elderly relatives are vulnerable, and that's where I've started thinking. And just being able to sit next to him, put my arm around him, and I'm like, come on, Dad, watch that. That's enough for me. Because every other year, I would have been upset about not going to the Champions League final, but I think this year I won't be able to afford it because of wedding reasons and now potentially house reasons. And also, I guess, like,
good reasons.
And I guess, yeah, it's pretty good reasons, I would say. Like, my life's gone through it. And also, I guess, once again, the silver lining is like, well, I'll get to watch it with my dad, and like, I'm happy with that. And like, and if you got to go, I'd be buzzing for you, man. And who knows, man? Maybe I'll find a way to get there, and I'll definitely try to get there. But I kind of slightly agree, man. I slightly agree. Like, if it's in Porto, it does feel like a more of a final. Having said that, there's loads of blues locally that if it got, for you personally, it makes sense. But for some people as well, if it's in London, that obviously makes an awful lot of sense.
Of course,
too. So,
of course.
And it's wonderful for any City fans who get to go. And it's just the fact that we're having this conversation. Which venue do we want for the Champions League final? Like, you have to pinch yourself, don't you? Sometimes, like, this is where we are, and like,
I'm at the stage where I decided last night that I am going to book flights and hotels regardless of whether I get a ticket, because I just need to feel the vibe. And if in the end I'm, sat in a bar, it's cool. Like, it's about
it's not the worst
how do you turn City being in the European Cup final into an occasion? Well, you go to the city where they're playing, whether you get a ticket or not, and you feel that vibe. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and that's what's made this morning so much fun. Is this like, hotels?
You're tempting me now. You're tempting me, like, just going over.
Mate, I've got to let my cat out. Just talk to your public.
You go for it
for 5 seconds.
We'll do it. Like, obviously, when you've got to let your cat out, you've got to do your thing, man. It's one of those things. But actually, I heard that as well, which is adorable. But I mean, as we were just saying, like, you guys, the fact that we're in the Champions League final, it kind of puts everything in perspective this week. It's a difficult week, and look where we are, man. Look where we are. We will be getting on to transfers as well in a second. Nice little segue from that moment. Richie's just asked, does Ahsan still think we're in for Haaland? Let's talk about transfers. I know you're not bothered about transfers at the moment, but I want to know what you think anyway, man. What do you think?
That guy, Richie, got straight to the nub of the situation, didn't he? He didn't dance around it. He's like, get to the point. Do I think we're still in for Haaland? Are you having a laugh, lad? Of course we are.
Isn't it weird, by the way, that it's gone quiet because we've got bigger fish to fry right now? It feels like it's gone quiet on the transfer front because we're a serious team trying to win trophies. By the way, is this not a selling point for Haaland right now, where we are?
I mean, it is what it is. Look, I think that with this summer and the transfer window and the number 9, everybody has to have faith. And those without faith, I can't help you. You got to have faith. I trust everybody involved. I know exactly what they want. Nothing's changed. They want a classic number 9. They're trying to sign a classic number 9. They've got a list. The list is basically Haaland, yeah? And I imagine Harry Kane, right?
Not Danny Ings, then.
Let me like I don't know, like for me, and I am bothered about transfers. That's the first thing. And actually, I think that what I think is quite interesting is that whenever things go quiet, people panic, right? And specifically talking about Haaland, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, well, they're going to sell Sancho, and that means that they're not going to sell Haaland." And I look at that and I go, "Well, so Sancho is their most important midfield player, and he's just come back and they've won 5 or 6 on the bounce to get themselves back into the Champions League places. How are you selling to Mino Raiola and Alfie? Oh, lads, by the way, this summer, Sancho's off, but you're not going anywhere." They're going to be like, hold on, hold on. He's the best, who are you replacing him with? You're going to go and sign Leroy Sané? Because you have to go and sign somebody to replace Jadon Sancho, and it has to be a player at that level, of that caliber. Otherwise, what's your, it's just, for me, I think it's really important that everybody lets this play out, and we don't react to every piece of news in the way that, I mean, it's in a way, it's kind of natural that you would do, but and it's also natural that we're pessimists because we're City fans. So it's natural that whenever something happens, people just immediately go, well, that's obviously not going to happen now. And I just think that this season is different. This summer will be different. And we might have won the European Cup. Now, if City win the league and the European Cup, are you really trying to tell me that if they then go and knock on Raiola's door or Dortmund's door and say, we want Haaland to lead the line next year, right? That the boy himself isn't going to stand up and go, I want that transfer. I want that
2
transfer.
words. Eden Hazard. Do you remember when Hazard
Absolutely.
Chelsea and he announced, "I'm signing for the Champions of Europe"? We cannot underestimate how big that big-eared pot is worth to players. They love the Champions League. They're absolutely obsessed with it. Hence why the Champions League still exists after all that Super League stuff, because they love it, man.
Yeah.
They absolutely love this trophy.
Absolutely.
And what it's worth, by the way, you've got to look at it from like a different perspective. Like, are you telling me Borussia Dortmund's shareholders or whatever, or the people top of the board, were going, wait, are you going to telling me we're going to make potentially 250 to 300 million profit this year in the summer transfer window, and they're going to turn that down? Of course they're not going to turn it down. They'll be all over that. And I'm sure what Dortmund will be doing, because Dortmund are, in terms of their model, they're so far ahead. They'll have some 15 million pound player lined up. They'll have some like Patson Daka lined up for 25 million or something like that, and he'll turn into a 100 million pound player or something like that. Dortmund aren't bothered about selling players. They can pretend they are, but deep down, they don't need the money, but their business is built on that money. It is.
Absolutely.
We all know it is. We know. Look, they are subservient to Bayern, and that's not meant to be insulted, but it's just true. The whole league, the whole country is subservient to Bayern. I mean, that's the whole setup of it. So ultimately, Dortmund can protest and acclaim as much as they want to, but we all know deep down they're going to sell Haaland, they're going to sell Sancho. It's just a matter of when. And I guess it's probably never going to be a better time to get money out of Manchester City than there will be this summer, when Sergio Aguero is clearly leaving and City could have won the Champions League and the Premier League and could have had that massive financial boost that comes with it. There's no better time to get what you want potentially for a player. There's no better time for that player to join Manchester City. So it's one of those things where if they've got any common sense, which they have, Dortmund have got common sense, we know they're good at this thing. They've also got players like Reina and Bellingham are going to be worth probably the same amount someday anyway as well. So they're not worried about Dortmund. They can pretend they are, but I just don't buy it for 1 second that they will go, this is a disaster, because this is what they do. They move on from it, don't they, Dortmund? It's a shame for them, but ultimately, I don't think they'll even care as much as they pretend to care. I think they've made peace with who they are, and their standing. And maybe I'm projecting a little bit there, but they'll find another Sancho, they'll find another Haaland, because Dortmund do this, and they've got a good record of doing this, and it's impressive. And we could go, why shouldn't we do that? But we don't need to do that because we're Man City. We don't need to be the finishing school for us. So,
well, actually, what we will do, so I was thinking about this, a couple of things. So, firstly, just to give the pessimists something, right? I think that all this hinges on the lad himself, right? So my opinion, and it's been the same opinion for nearly 2 months now, my opinion is that he's told City, I only want to come to you. And City are like, right, rock and roll, we'll do this then, right? Now, if come the end of the season, Dortmund say, we don't want to sell you and we want you to do another year, and he goes, all right, Well, there's nothing we can do about that. But on the flip side, I still feel that when the season ends, regardless of what Dortmund say, I think Haaland will say, no, I want to be sold and I want to go to Manchester City.
I agree. It's also worth bearing in mind the other club linked massively, Madrid. That can't be good for them. How pathetically they were dismissed by Chelsea, and they were miles off. They were miles off Chelsea's pace. And I mean, Haaland can go, okay, well, go to La Liga, possibly win a title or two there. But am I going to win the Champions League? Because if I'm if I'm Haaland now, I'm thinking Real Madrid have got a lot of work to do. Haaland's not making them win Champions League. They've got a lot.
Steve, as of today, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus won't even play in the Champions League next season because they haven't left the Super League yet. And if you no, it's not. I mean, it's serious. Like if you look at the statement that Barcelona put out last week, right? These guys are not letting this Super League thing go. Now, if you're a footballer, right, are you about to commit your future to Barca or Real Madrid, who are in complete transition and who are effectively at war with UEFA right now and going, we're not coming back to your competition?
Mess, aren't they? They're a mess.
It's just, it just seems a bit. I think the fact that United have re-signed Cavani is absolutely huge because I think that puts a line through their name for Kane and for Haaland this summer. And without United at the table, I think that we have a shot at both of those players.
I would say one team that seems more serious now, Chelsea. We can't ignore Chelsea, man. Like they've got a really highly rated coach. Chelsea aren't afraid to spend money. We know this, and they would argue they need a clinical number 9. They are a genuine threat, I would say. Chelsea, I'm hoping still you go for Man City because why wouldn't you go for Man City? But if Chelsea win the Champions League, we saw the Eden Hazard factor. Are they possibly willing to? They could be willing to spend more than us, and that I think that's a fair fear. I still think we're favourites, but I still think that's a fair. They are, in my opinion, now they are our biggest rivals potentially for this. And you might disagree.
I think they've made their peace. I think they've made their peace with the fact they're not getting Haaland. I think if you look at if you look at the journalists who are close to Chelsea, it's been a while now that they're all saying, yeah, they would like him, but they understand the fact that with City there and Madrid there, that they've got basically they're looking at other players. I think would
this change it? You know, if they won the Champions League, would it change it for them? That's the thing.
I think it comes down to Haaland. I think that what everybody needs to continually do is go, you know what? The only thing that matters is what Erling Haaland says when the season ends. If he says, I want to go to Chelsea, he'll go to Chelsea. If he says, I want to go to Manchester City, he'll go to City. If he says, I want to stay, he'll stay. But I think he'll decide what his future holds. And again, you know, I find it impossible to believe that a guy who wants to win trophies regularly and win the biggest trophies and be the centerpiece of a huge, huge, huge club is going to say no to Manchester City right now and Guardiola. I don't see it. So
no, I'm with you, man. Like if it doesn't make sense for him to not, and that's the thing is it makes sense for him to say yes, but it also doesn't make sense for him to say no, which is a big thing in our thing is like you have to look at reasons of why someone would go somewhere, and like it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelmingly in our favour. I mean, I've never seen a more perfect transfer and a club more primed for it as well. It's like we're proving it on the pitch this season. We are primed for that big Galactico signing to the extent that we've never had. And like, is this? I mean, you should say as well, by the way, that you always improve when you're on top, and we could not be further on top right now potentially. And like, imagine the fear factor. I mean, what does this do to our rivals if we win the Champions League and sign Haaland? Where's the head at after that, Ahsan?
Well, I don't think that. I don't even think it's just Haaland. I think that if you put any of those forwards, that I'm excluding Ings, right? But if you were to take Haaland, Kane, the lad at Fiorentina, Vlahovic, the Serbian. Who are the other 9s? Lukaku. I've said Lukaku. Like all of that, like that collection of strikers. You put any of those players in this Manchester City team, and it's really worrying for everybody else. Because Pep's basically shown I do this without a 9, right? And I think that one of the reasons that they've decided come hell or high water, they're signing one, is because everybody will spend the summer trying to figure out Pep's false nine system, except when next season starts, it won't be false nine anymore. We will have gone back to a nine, and it'll be a whole new thing that they have to deal with. And I think that being one step ahead of your rivals, constantly evolving from a footballing point of view, these things are really important. I keep seeing people write off players in the squad by going, we don't play to player X's characteristics anymore. We don't play in one way, lads. We play in many different ways, and we want to be able to play in many different ways. And anything that limits how many ways we can play in is not something that's going to happen. City aren't going to...
Go back 5 months, man. Go back 5 months. Look at where we were in November to where we are now. We're an unrecognizable team, genuinely. Imagine where we would be in another 5 months. You telling me after the summer, I don't know who else we're going to sign or who we will sign, but presuming we sign the kind of play that we're expecting to, it's a different beast yet again. It's a different... I mean, like, that must be... It must be terrifying. It must be so frustrating as well for the rivals. And don't get me wrong, you know, there are other teams that will improve as well, and there are other teams that will do different things. But we're in a different level of confidence than they are, I would say.
Who do you fear the most? Who do you fear the most?
Probably Chelsea. I'm being honest. Maybe it probably is Chelsea, because Chelsea have proven they'll spend money, and I do genuinely respect Thomas Tuchel. I don't think he's not as good as Guardiola. No one is, genuinely, and I mean that. But he's Chelsea have the money and the resources, and to be honest, I looked at their bench the other day and I think it's not as good as ours, but it's a fucking good squad Chelsea have got. Like they've got the only. Go on.
I've got to say something, right? So this whole like City have got the best squad in the world and nobody can compete with City and all of that business. If you rewind like towards the end of last season, everybody was going, Chelsea have got the best squad in the league. Honestly, everybody was looking at their players and going, Chelsea have got the best squad in the league. And when they added Werner and Ziyech and Havertz, everybody went, oh my God. Yeah. Exactly. Everybody was like, now they are definitely the best squad in the league. And I think that it's, you know, it's normal that when City do well that it gets framed or characterized through money. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that Chelsea have a squad as strong as ours, and they will be the real rival next season, because like Man United are shite. I don't care. Like you know.
That's
no,
interesting. I'm about to ask you about United, because like they keep winning games. You know, they keep winning games, and are you not convinced even still?
I don't think they have a manager good enough to win the Premier League, so they're not a rival. A rival has to be somebody who can challenge you for a trophy. Man United have not challenged Manchester City for the Premier League title since 2013, and we're in 2021. So I'll call them a rival when they behave like a rival, but
I agree on that. Because they're not challengers right now. They're just chasing us with a vague hope of doing something pressure free. So that's not challenging, is it? It's
not at all.
You fucked it up, and now you're winning a few games in a row. But I'm sorry to challenge. You have to be up there.
We threw those games. We threw the games that allowed them to think that they're challengers. The reason that they even think that they're in a conversation with us is because Pep went, we're so far ahead, I can afford to drop 6 points here and make sure that I get through in the Champions League. We wouldn't have picked teams like that if there was actually a title race. And I think that's, you know, I think United will continue to throw money at the problem. And I think that because of the volume of good players that they've got, they'll win more games than they'll lose. They'll score a lot of goals, and they'll be able to flat track a lot of teams. But the difference between where they are and where they need to be to challenge City is a chasm. It's not
Do you know what it is for me? It's like, the metaphor I can imagine is like you're playing, I don't know, your little brother on FIFA, you're 6-0 up or whatever, and because you're 6-0 up, you take your hand off control and you start going on your phone, and then your little brother scores 3 goals. You're like, oh my God, we're actually not bad. You're like, sorry,
exactly.
put the phone down. Then you pick up the controller again, and all of a sudden it's 8-7, 8-4, something like that. You know, like, and that's the way I see it. And that's not to say United. I don't think United like, oh, they're not a bad side, clearly. They're a decent side, but I do think to match of. It's easy doing what they're doing right now, and it's not easy, but you know what I mean. It's easy when there's no pressure, and you just winning a few games and looking good when there's no pressure on the league whatsoever. I mean, that's not that doesn't show anything. It just shows you've got a bunch of good players who can win a few games when no one really cares. And like, I know they're probably going to win the Europa League, or whatever. Once again, it's the Europa League. Like, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They should be winning that, given they got the most expensive squad in the Premier League or whatever it is, or something like that. So yeah, fair play. They might do that.
Can we talk about
to win a Premier League?
Can we talk about how much money they've spent to perennially be second best to City? I think that a lot of focus is placed upon Manchester City and the amount of money that they spend and how they haven't won a Champions League, considering the amount of £1 billion and you've not won a Champions League.
Can I just drop one line?
Go on.
Any coach could spend £1 billion over 10 years to come second in the Premier League. Have we heard that before? We never heard about United, have we, man? We've never heard about United. It's always about Man City finishing first, but it's never about finishing second. And that's what they've done as well over the past years. I know Solskjaer's not been involved in all that, but they're not these plucky underdogs, man. They fucking spent money. They've spent an awful lot of money, and like
they're just not underdogs.
Right.
They're just not underdogs. They've spent £1 billion to perennially fail. They are a failure as a football club, and it's not said often enough. And it's not said clearly enough because there's too many rag cheerleaders in the media. They're a failure. If City failed on the level that they failed on, we'd get laughed out of town, bro. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine if City had not won a single Premier League title in the last 8 years and were spending hundreds of millions at the same time? We'd be a laughing stock. Man United should be a laughing stock right now. Solskjaer is the king meme for me. Did you hear what he said yesterday about, like, you know, the best bit about beating whoever they beat was the fact that we stopped City from winning the title tonight? Lad, how small is your football club right now if that's what you think about? Oof.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And so does Luke Lemie. Says, love the energy, guys. Been enjoying the streams. Luke Lemie, big legend, mate. Thank you so much.
Nice one, mate.
Ahsan, there's been some interesting quotes from the man you reference a lot, Jonathan Barnett, Jack Grealish's agent. He said, the truth is that we don't know what will happen. There are many clubs interested, and I wouldn't put United at the top of that list. I don't know why he's singled out United there. Like, I don't think that's about... I think that's because he does think United are in there. But, like, what do you make of those comments anyway, man? Do you think Grealish is still very much on City's list, so to speak? What do you think the motivation for Jonathan Barnett is coming out and saying that?
Do I think that Jack Grealish is on City's list? I know that Manchester City are top of Jack Grealish's list of potential destinations. That's obvious from everything that he's said. Look, I imagine that Barnett made that comment because somebody asked him about Man United and whether they were interested in Grealish. You can't escape the fact that he's obviously
Jonathan Burnett.
Yeah. I like it, Ollie. I like that a lot.
I wish he was intentionally burned. That'd be incredible. But go on, you were saying.
Yeah. I think City really like Jack Grealish. I know City really like Jack Grealish, but the question of whether they'll do it is not a question that I could answer right now because I don't think that the club are number 9 is the priority, and it's like a high priority. And if you look at the manner in which they let Sergio Aguero go, you don't do that to a club legend, arguably your greatest ever player, unless you're going to make a move. Yeah. Unless you've already made a move and you know that the move is going to pay off. So I think that with Grealish, with a left back, with Bissouma, are we going to talk about Bissouma? I want to talk about him in a minute.
I was going to get on to midfielders, a couple of names, but we'll get on to Bissouma.
Yeah. With all of those things, I think it's important to keep the context that I think City will do the 9 first, right? And I think that what happens with that 9 will dictate a lot of the other moves that happen. And you know, I tried to make an argument for City not signing a number 9 this summer, and I couldn't. So you know what that means, Steve? It means that if Haaland, for whatever reason, goes, I'm not moving this summer, that's when that becomes over, because I think that City will not wait a year for anybody. I think that it's shit or bust for all those players in terms of coming to City.
Yeah, indeed, man. I agree. Quickly, Brody, there's no comment, but thank you so much, Brody. Absolute legend. I really appreciate you, Brody. Thank you so much.
Nice one, mate.
And also, what I want to say is, like, so we touched on it then. Ave Bissouma, absolutely fantastic player at Brighton. I've heard, I'm sure you've heard from the same person, possibly, that this is real. Like, City are interested in Bissouma. And once again, people take it with a pinch of salt. Doesn't mean anything. On a list doesn't mean we're going to sign a player. But City are watching this lad, and I think it's because, once again, the early Fernandinho similarities are striking. You know, leggy, athletic, brilliant box-to-box midfielder with age to spare. You know, and I've heard that's real. And once again, he possibly be very affordable. I mean, the price is hinted at, rumoured. They're only like 35 or something million, something like that. And given the fact that Brighton paid 15 million for him, it's a little profit for them, and it seems plausible. And also, another name, someone asked earlier, Husamawa, obviously a fantastic player. He's allegedly available for around 30 million as well. And I know it's one City's looked at before. Potential bargain there. I'm not sure. Don't think City will go for it, but what do you make on those two potential players, Bissouma and Husamawa? I was not been linked recently for what it's worth, but apparently he's available for 30 million. So that's why I'm bringing him into this conversation.
Okay, so we'll deal with the lad from Lyon first.
Yeah,
I don't think City have ever been interested in him.
Okay.
He's not a number 6. He's a number 8. So, and he's not as good. He doesn't get to live in the same league as Gundo and KDB and Bernardo and players of that ilk. Like he's a very good player, maybe a good player, stroke very good player. I don't think he's good enough to play for City. And I think that I know a lot of people like him, but I would just ask the question, if he's that good and he's available for that cheap, where's the queue? And that will probably give you an idea of him being, you know, there's a lad who ended up playing against us for Dortmund, Dahoud, right? And he's another one where it's like these guys have been linked to a lot of English clubs. And the links have always felt shady because you look at the lad and you go, he's not that good, you know. So I don't know. I'm very dubious.
I like him, but I get where you're coming from. I think he's. I don't think it'll happen for his way, but I think if it did, it'd be like, well, he's a project, but it would be a project. But Bissouma, that seems very plausible, doesn't it? It seems very plausible. One of those maybe like if things go well this summer, like maybe have a spare 30 million, you know, why not kind of thing. Do you think there's anything in it?
I think there's a lot in it. I imagine that. How do I say this? I imagine that they've looked at the characteristics that Rodri doesn't possess, and they've gone, you know what? We need a guy with the characteristics that Rodri doesn't possess, so that when Fernandinho goes, we are not left in a position where that position lacks players of certain characteristics. In the same way we talk about the number 9 position and we go like, they want a 9 so they can go false 9 or 9, right? They acknowledge that they've done really well this season, but it's not sustainable, and they didn't plan it like that. They wanted to use Aguero. They wanted Jesus to have a much better season. So in the same way, I think that they've looked at the Rodri situation, and I'm guessing now, but I get the feeling that they might have prioritized a midfield player to the extent that left back doesn't happen.
I think you're right. I think Zinchenko's actually made his. I think he's made it his own.
I saw your exchange with Stefan yesterday, and I kind of agree with you that like we can't. We've got to stop.
I agree with him, by the way. I agree with both of them. That makes sense. But he's
exactly like it's exactly like it's that thing where basically he's not a left back, but at the same time we have to stop saying he's not a left back because Pep's done that thing that he does with players. So as long as Pep's here, he's a left back.
Pep thinks he's a left back, and if Pep Guardiola tells me he's a left back, he's a left back. If Pep Guardiola tells me I'm a striker or something, I am. You know, if Pep tells you are something, you're like, who are we to fucking question Pep Guardiola? And he's a unique left back, but do you know what? Maybe we're just seeing the start of this type of left back. You know, maybe only certain kind of coaches can play this kind of play because you have to be on a certain level of brilliance and football intelligence. But that doesn't mean it isn't an iteration of that position. I mean, we saw it anyway. It's not that new. We've seen it with Philip Lahm to an extent. We've seen it with David Alaba to an extent as well. It's not like this idea of an inverted midfielder as a left back is a new thing, you know, like, and no one would have said that those players aren't left backs. I mean, that's where they made their thing. So like, he is to me, and to be honest, What point do we turn around and say to Zinchenko, especially, by the way, if Zinchenko starts in Champions League final and wins us, are you going to tell me that we turn around to Zinchenko and go, you've been absolutely brilliant, you've hung around, you've answered every question that we possibly give you, you worked hard, you're likeable, you're young, you're not expensive, you care for this club, but now fuck off, we're going to buy an attacking left back. Can we do that? Is it even fair?
No.
Is it even fair on him? The players won't like it either, I reckon.
No,
the
listen.
wouldn't like it, so...
I actually think we can answer this question from a footballing point of view. And what I mean by that is our weakness over the last 2 or 3 years, counter-attacks, right?
Yeah.
People looked at Zinchenko naturally, and they said he's not a natural left-sided defender, and he's got no pace. Therefore, that's the side that you go down, right? If you want to go after City. I think that with the addition of Diaz, with the slight tweak in our own tactics in the way that we play, we're just not susceptible to the counter in the way that we previously were. So actually, Zinchenko, what we're seeing now, more than anything, is the fact that because we're defensively stable, we can use him as an attacking outlet from left back, which is effectively what we do. I think that and it's something that, sometimes, like in Pep's system, sometimes it's little things so you don't notice them for a long time because they're little. So, they happen like 3-4 times a game. And it doesn't feel like a big deal. And then eventually you go, shit, that's actually really hard to do. I think with Zinchenko, what I see and what I feel is that he's so calm on the ball and he backs his passing so much that he's dangerous. He's a problem for the opposition because you'll go and press him and he'll play a ball through two of you. And if it connects, we're on top of their back four because he can, if you come and press Zinchenko as a midfield, he can play the ball through you to our attackers, basically. And I think that his ability on the ball, his calmness, his technique, his vision, for want of a better word, his choice of pass is just unbelievable.
What I would say about, and it's a little bit of a thought that's been going through the back of my mind now with Zinchenko, is that there's a saying in life where it's a bit cheesy and it's a bit linked in, but it's a saying in life where you have to standardize to optimize. And I guess the point of that saying is that once something becomes familiar to you, that's when you can start to improve it and iterate and improve. And I think we forget that Zinchenko has been learning this position and Zinchenko has been learning how to play there. And also, Zinchenko isn't even the player he was a year and a half ago in that position. He used to be, unfairly, that he was quite susceptible defensively. He isn't anymore. He's actually pretty good defensively. I'm not saying he's the best defensive fullback in the world, but I wouldn't say he's below average. I would say he's at least average, if not actually pretty good, because he's intelligent. And the point I'm making really is that because he's got so used to being in that position now, actually defensively he's pretty solid, and he's built a base level now because of his footballing intelligence, because of his persistence, and because of a bit of time and experience to actually build on it. So I don't even think we've seen the best of Zinchenko at left back yet. Zinchenko still has another level to go, because once you're comfortable defending and you know where to be, that's when you have a platform to build on. So it might be now that Guardiola sat there with Zinchenko, mate, you've got so much better defensively. Now we need to actually make you even get maybe the odd assist or two, or actually get forward and even impose a little bit further up the pitch, because he has that ability. We know how good his passive he is. We know how good he is on the ball. He's gone from being a below average defender who was good on the ball to now actually being at least average, if not actually pretty good defensively, to always being an above average intelligent footballer, to always being an above average technical footballer. But I still think he's got a level to go. And he's only young, and he's only got to grow in experience. And once again, I talk a lot about on this channel about personal factors, because I think they absolutely fundamentally influence a player on the pitch. And he's settled now. He's got his beautiful wife, his beautiful family. He's a captain for Ukraine as well. These factors make you feel like you belong. And for the first time, maybe as well, potentially this summer, in his Manchester City career, he's not thinking, am I going to be here in a few months' time? He's going to be thinking, actually, this is my home now, and this is where I belong. And that confidence and that familiarity, it breeds improvement. It does. And once you're comfortable somewhere and you feel like you belong, that is it's empowering, man. You feel comfortable and you feel at home. And we underestimate how much he cares about this club and how much he feels he could belong now. And the kid's a winner, he's a winner, and he's going to get better, and he's answered every question that's come our way. And And it's impressive. It's impressive. And I think basically we underestimate that factor because we always presume players where they are right now. It's just because we live in the moment so much with football. We forget that where they were a year ago is often different. Or look where even Gundo was a year ago. Gundo's different to a year ago. And this is a 30-year-old high-level player already. Players change is the point I'm making. Look where Foden was a year ago. He's a left winger now. And I guess the point I'm making is like we forget that what City could look like in a year, and by proxy Zinchenko, is possibly totally different, but in a potentially very good way. He could attack more. He could be more of a left back is the point I'm making, because he suits that role and he's learning it. It's just a bit of a monologue defending him, because I think he's better than we realise sometimes, and could even be better than we realise right now, potentially. And I think that's important when we talk about the left back problem, because I guess the point I'm making is because Cancelo can play there as well, and is there even a problem anymore? You know, Ake could do a job there, and Mendy will probably go. But like, I mean, Mendy's fine if you want to back up against the mid-table side. You know, he's fine. You know, so like, you know, as a backup player, if we're playing Fulham having all the ball, he's fine. He's fine. Exactly. Against Chelsea, against the better players, Reece James, he was exposed a little bit. But I guess the point I'm making is like, I don't feel there's a big problem anymore. And if it came to getting a striker and we didn't get a left back, I'd be like, cool, I'm living with that, man. That's a world that I can get in. Before you get your next thoughts, man, I want to quickly say, Brody, before he did a super chat, and he forgot to put a message. He said meant to put a message, was going to say, do you think Pep played a weaker side? So Tuchel hasn't played our strongest side yet. We chatted about that earlier, Brody. So what I would say, mate, is that there's no point treading the same water. But broadly, Ahsan agrees. He massively agrees, Brody. So go back to watch the start of the Brody speaking instead of Brody speaking. I would say go and watch the start of the video, mate, and we talked at length. But Brody, once again, thank you. But anything to add on the Zinchenko thing, man? I just went off on one a bit.
Yeah, I think that. So I think that the biggest compliment you can pay him is that if I ask you to name better left backs than Zinchenko in the Premier League, you ain't naming 10.
Probably
do you understand what I mean?
Mate. Honestly, probably not even 5.
And,
you know, like...
and I think that the other thing that it's maybe the first time that I felt it this part of this season. I feel as though Zinchenko could be bought as a left back by somebody else now. Previously, I always felt like Zinchenko is going to get bought to go and play attacking midfield or whatever, and this is just an experiment. If I was, for example, right, if I was the manager of Everton or Leicester or a club like that of that level, I'd be looking at Zinchenko and going, you know what? He's a worldie for us. He's an absolute worldie for us because, you know, ultimately our standards at City, right the way up there. Yeah. And most clubs, they're not right the way up there. Do you know what I mean? Like you can, yeah, I mean,
yeah, exactly. I mean, the weird thing is, I actually think he's more appealing to big clubs, you know, who have all the balls. So I think weirdly, like Bayern would be like, yeah, I like this kid. He could be like a young Gallagher for us. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. And like, by the way, someone Niga said, let's be honest, Reece James would have roasted him. I don't agree, mate. Because the thing is, the reason Reece James roasted Mendy is because Mendy went tight to him, and Pep was like, what the fuck are you doing? Reece James.
Body position, simple.
Exactly.
Man.
Exactly.
Body position has nothing to do with pace. Nothing to do with pace. It's just about body. Like when we talk, like how do I say this? Like what Pep does, what makes him a genius, what footballers say. No, I'm not saying it. Footballers say this is that he teaches them stuff that is so obvious and so easy and so simple, but it improves them tenfold. Right. So your man who says, let's be honest, Reece James would have roasted him. Why did Florenzi not roast him? Why did Di Maria not roast him? Why did Neymar not roast him?
Salah, Rashford.
Why did Salah not roast him? Why did, these lads, why do they not roast Zen? Because his game intelligence, his positioning intelligence, his body position is just spot on.
And every fullback in the world will sometimes get roasted by a world-class winger or whatever. That's fine. It happens. But the point is, if it happens consistently, fine. Salah definitely beat Zinchenko once, but he didn't do it again, and that is the point. And that's like, Salah will beat any fullback in the world once because Salah's Salah. You know, like that's not embarrassing. The point is, like, are we going to turn around and say a player's crap because he got roasted once? Like, no, it doesn't matter. But the point is, if it happens all the time, yes, then you've got a problem. But that's why Guardiola, I'm not sure if everyone's seen the clip, but there's like a touchline clip of Guardiola's reaction to Mendy getting roasted. And Guardiola, I'm just going to do a reenaction. Guardiola stood there.
Do the reenactment.
Walks off. He goes, like that, and he's just like he's in anger. And he's frustrated, not because he got roasted, it's because it was so obvious what he was going to do. And Guardiola's frustrated because Mendy hasn't learned. And that's why he was frustrated, man.
He showed him down the outside. Showed him down the outside.
And Guardiola's like,
what are you
that's
doing?
thick. It's dumb. It's unfortunately dumb. And I'm sure Mendy's a nice lad, but it's dumb.
Literally, they will have told him, whatever happens, don't end up in a body position side by side with him when he's got the touchline. You need to make sure that at all times you're moving over so you're directly in front of him. Don't get too tight to him. Just get in front of him and make him run through you. And instead, like, gives him that outside lanes.
Mendy's a big guy as well. Put yourself in front of him. Mendy's a big guy. Don't literally go.
I don't want to slag. I don't want
with your electric pace.
Yeah, I don't want to slag Mendy off, but the point is that Zinchenko is far more intelligent than that. Yeah, he's far sharper than that, and it's not gonna. I'm not worried about Zinchenko playing left back in any game because he played left back against Paris Saint-Germain, and everybody went Zinchenko against Mbappe and Neymar and Di Maria and. You know,
in that situation, Zinchenko would see it's going to Reece James. He's built like a train and he's absolutely lightning quick. And he would go, right, I'm just going to stand a yard back, close to the touchline, and go, you can't knock it past me because I'm here. So you cut inside. But then then all of a sudden that isn't a chance anymore because he can't get down the line and put a cross in. And Reece James is a fantastic crosser. So as soon as you block that line, stand off for him, he can't burst past you because there's nowhere to knock the ball past you. And then he's got to cut inside, and all of a sudden that situation diffused like that. So football is very simple, and as you said, Guardiola makes football simple for people, and only for the players who want to listen or who have the capacity to learn and listen. And Zinchenko does, and that's what makes him unique, because not everyone can listen or and not everyone can take it in, and like that doesn't make them bad players or anything like that. It's just what separates the very best from the pretty good. And it's an ability to listen and absorb. But Ahsan, man, we've been going on for an hour. It's just flown by as ever. Any final words ahead of tonight? Once again, this week we could win the league tonight, man. What's your plans for tonight if we win the league? Are you cracking open a bottle of champagne or something?
I drank the bottle. I had a bottle in the fridge, and I promised myself that I wouldn't open it if City ended up losing to Chelsea. But then I opened it, so it got drank. What am I going to do tonight? I'm probably going to watch United Leicester. I'm probably going to be cheering for Kelechi, and I reckon that I will have some booze in the fridge, and I'll definitely pop a bottle if City end up winning the Premier League tonight. And you know what? This chat, have to say very quickly, thank you, because I felt good this morning. I feel even better now. I'm back to where I was a week ago. I'm just like, Champions League final, Premier League title, good. Carabao in the bag, a big summer ahead of big, like a marquee player. It's so rare that City get to be excited. We get to be excited about a potentially marquee player coming. Come on, man.
Say it every time, man. Say it every time when we're chatting with you. And to everyone listening, to everyone who's feeling a bit pessimistic, I understand it. But remember, once again, this is literally as good as it gets. Remember that. Remember that next time we have a wobble. And wobbles are fine. We're City fans, and that's what makes us brilliant. But life is very good. And I can't prove it more. I don't have to prove it. All I've got to do is just look at Manchester City football and go, fuck me, life is good right now. It's incredibly good. And obviously, I'm on cloud 9 for personal reasons right now today anyway. I'm going to end this video and run into the living room and go and just start shouting about potential house with Nicola again. But Ahsan, thank you so much for coming on, man. Guys, once
pleasure,
again,
mate. Thank you.
320 pod. If you haven't checked it out yet, you are genuinely, and I say this, and you know me, I don't bullshit. I'm a realist. You're genuinely missing out on a fantastic podcast with loads of absolute top Manchester City fans on that. So go and check out the 9320 podcast. It's a link in the description as always, at 9320 pod on Twitter. It's brilliant for a reason. Ahsan's involved, as are all the rest of the lads. Mate, thank you for coming on. Hopefully we're all celebrating a Kelechi winning tonight. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Pleasure. Brilliant. I would love it. Absolutely love it. Nice one, mate.
As ever, like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. I'm going to click end, and this is the bit where Ahsan shouts, up the Blues. See you later, guys.
Up the Blues!